What's up, everybody? Bradley Flowers here with episode 2 of Entreprescrewups, where we bring professional and successful people in. We talk about their biggest business mistake and what they learn from them, because we learn from our failures, not our successes. I'm so jacked up today to have Keith Sherrill from Haint Blue Brewing Company. If you are familiar, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself in a second. If you are familiar with Kenan and Kel, the TV show Kenan and Kel from the late 90s, early 2000s, and how much Kel loved orange soda, Haint Blue is my orange soda, without elaborating too much. So let me introduce Keith Sherrill from Haint Blue Brewing Company. Appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Haint Blue, and then we'll get into some of the nitty-gritty of this interview.
Okay. I'll keep that part short. I am an Alabama native. My move to Mobile was a move to Alabama after like 14 years of being elsewhere. In other words, I was in the Army, kind of took me all over the country, and once that chapter was closed, I decided to come back home. Grew up in Montgomery, knew I wanted to be a little bit further south. I knew what Mobile had to offer, so ultimately decided to settle here and wanted a little piece of the American dream. I had, I guess, fought for it for some time. And I always kind of had a love for entrepreneurism and, just a small business owner, and wanted to be a part of that. So that's what Haint Blue is. That's my version of that.
Cool. And I love the Saison.
Yeah, man.
What's the tagline for the Saison?
So we got a couple of them. Right now it's fight terrorism with beer.
That's the one I'm referring to.
And then we kind of have a more hippie version of that, and it's make beer, not war. Which is what we're doing right now.
That's awesome.
It's cool. I mean, there's a real big story behind that beer, and if we have time, I guess I could go into it.
Go into it, man.
So it's kind of a way to tie my past into the future of what we hope to do here in Mobile, have some kind of impact. And the Saison, the story is actually where we source the ingredients for it.
Okay.
We actually get the saffron in it, so the main spice in the beer, from Afghanistan, which is huge for a number of reasons. On one note is it's from another veteran-owned business.
Okay.
So I'm sourcing saffron from Afghanistan via a veteran-owned business in Chicago. The reason they did it, and the reason I'm helping them, is to turn Afghan opium growers into saffron farmers. So that's why we say fight terrorism with beer. I mean, it is a cool tagline, but it's not a gimmick.
It's real.
It is real. It is absolutely real. And it's a real good beer, and it's a big beer. It's close to 8%. So
it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah,
it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. So that's basically it. That's the nutshell of the Saison, and it's still new, and I think it's growing, and that's that one kind of pulls on my heartstrings. So we hope it's around for a while.
You're gonna make me cry because it pulls on my.
No,
I love
man.
it.
No,
I love
we're fighting terrorism.
Yeah, that's right,
You're
man.
not crying.
That's right. Write it down. Terrorism went down in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit. Let's get into the nitty gritty of this. Tell us a little bit about your biggest business mistake and how it happened.
Yeah.
What you could have done to prevent it and what you learned from it.
Sure. I guess probably at this point, the reason a lot of people have heard of us outside of our beer, I hope beer is the first reason, but secondly, kind of this struggle, this pain that we had with zoning. So we're at the Crystal Ice House, corner of Broad Street and Canal. Long and short of it is that building was never zoned to be a brewery. It was an ice manufacturing plant. I had made some assumptions that an ice manufacturing plant could easily be a beer manufacturing plant. Kind of my own internal common sense test. Knew that there would be some kind of zoning struggle within the city, but at that time, there was really nowhere you could locate within the city and put a brewery there. It just wasn't on the books. It really wasn't. It is now. Fortunately, some things have changed. So, man, that's been almost, I don't know, a year and a half.
Really?
It took a substantial amount of time. So right or wrong about the process, a year and a half, that timeline was never in my head. So maybe the first thing, knowing that I was going to have to get a zoning variance, and I had evaluated whether I would or not. So I guess I just didn't realize the gravity of it.
And you're probably bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. You
Oh,
thought
yeah.
it would be a week, and you're
Yeah.
going to be in there.
It's the best idea anybody's ever had.
Right.
At least in my mind, because if you start any business, it's you're passionate about it, and I was. Right. It was right at the beginning. Things were working out for me very well at that point, and I just didn't see any kind of misfortune on the horizon. And I had evaluated a note, like we did some crowdfunding, and I outlined the risk. I felt I had to be very honest with it. For me, ethically, for me, I wanted people to realize, what could go wrong. And I wrote these things down, and one of them was, there could be a substantial delay in any kind of repayment of this cash.
Well, I mean, anytime you're dealing, I think, with alcohol and the state of Alabama,
yeah, man.
you're, and I know we talked about the campaign before we got on the air. I actually followed that because I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah.
Just the process of that, and obviously there's probably not many local people that have done a WeFunder campaign or a Kickstarter or anything like that. So I actually followed that, and I will say that you did a phenomenal job of outlining everything. And I would actually, one thing that I do with businesses is I will look at their negative reviews or their reviews in general and see how they responded to them. And I did the same thing with that as I looked at the comments, and you personally responded to every single person's concern. I do remember that. So there's your proof that I did follow it. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I tried to be honest with that. And I was talking to people in real time. And I put on there that we could get delayed substantially. The building's not zoned. Something could happen to where this thing goes long, and I can't answer what that might look like. And I wrote that down, and I knew it was a risk, and I knew people, but I had no idea it was going to turn out the way that it had. Even from the city's perspective, I don't know how often the city has met with an appeal on something like this. So even kind of updates I was getting from people I perceived to be a little more privy to the information, what this might look like, couldn't give accurate estimates because it's not something that happens all the time. So it just kept going and kept going. So what I learned from that, one is, we had done some meetings. I went out and met with the neighborhood on 3 different occasions, and there was, I don't want to say opposition necessarily.
Questions.
There were questions, and I expected that. I did. If there was a brewery located next to me, I would want to know a list of things, or at least ask them.
You want to know what's going to be going on there, and I mean, it's you're right.
Yeah. So again, I'm answering these things, and I was like, okay, someone would ask me a question, and I would answer, and I perceived that to be sufficient. But I didn't ask. What I should have done maybe was, is anybody going to appeal this? Does anyone, instead of coming to my own conclusions about how someone felt about an answer, whether or not they said something in return, I should have asked the question of, who in here is a lawyer and may or may not appeal or sue Keith Sherrill of the city for having what might be perceived a victory here. Yeah, which sounds crazy to say out loud, but who knows, man? Somebody might have said yes,
or somebody would have known who was going to do that.
Right. Yeah. So that's one. Secondly, I think it's important how you handle these types of things. This was a very humbling and just growth for me as a human. I've been fortunate where hard things have worked out very well for me. Not always, but I've always been able to affect those things. If it didn't work out, it was something clear that I did wrong or something clear that I needed to do, and this was not one of those. I couldn't make a judge hear our case beforehand. I couldn't end up on the calendar of certain boards that we needed to get on or whatever. I had to be patient, and it taught me a lot about patience and just kind of accepting what's happening for a little bit.
And we talked about that in episode 1 of this show with Scott Tyndall. We talked about the whole Gary Vaynerchuk thing of macro patience, micro speed.
Yeah, and it's nice. I'm going to listen to that episode.
Most people do it backwards. They want to be go super impatient and go super fast. Yeah. And I don't think those two gel well together.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's, on top of that, so that's kind of the growth piece is, there was I mean, several times along the way, man, where I was kind of angry about it.
Yeah.
Where I would, it just kind of kept kicking me in the pants all throughout the year.
And I'll add to that. I don't know if you know this, but I don't think that anyone around you realized that you were getting down like that. Because when I first heard about it, which was not that long ago, I think maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I was actually on your website and I saw the T-shirt. So you guys had a T-shirt that was $120 and it was to help with your legal fees. Yeah. And I almost bought one. I did not buy one, but I almost bought one.
Expensive shirt.
Well, I believe in the brand and I believe in the product and I believe in you guys. And but I didn't buy one, but I almost did. But I saw that and I'm like, wait a minute, what? And then I was actually, I heard some things, going around, and I asked Johnny. I said, what's going on with Haint Blue? And he said, man, and he kind of, briefed me on it. He said, but let me tell you something. He said, Keith is handling it like a freaking champ. He said, you would never know. He said, there are things that of course, Johnny's, you're based, or your office is at Container Yard,
right,
which is where we're recording at. We're Deep Fried Studios and Marine Street Lofts. And so Johnny, I think, was hearing a lot of that from you play by play. And he said, man, Keith is handling it way better than I would have. And I think anybody would have. So I will tell you that I think a lot of people didn't realize it was.
Well, and that's
a 3,000 foot opinion. I know I don't know you that well, but.
Well, and that was by design.
Right.
And that's why I say, like, it was a huge moment. It was an opportunity.
Right.
For me to grow and handle something more responsibly. Because we got people invested in this thing, and I couldn't lose support. I couldn't. I just had to come to grips with this and just handle it the best way that I could. So that was. I don't know if it's necessarily I hope it's something I hold on to. Throughout my business career or whatever. So in a lot of ways, I'm kind of thankful for this.
Yeah,
I really am, and that's easier for me to say today because our permits are now approved.
Well, let's be honest. If Haint Blue if you end up exploding and you're just this massive success, or even if it's not Haint Blue and it's something else, you're going to look back and smile, laugh, and be like, man, can you believe that stressed me out at that time?
Yeah.
And that's one reason I'm doing this show is I think a lot of people, in that moment, it's like the worst freaking thing that can happen to you. Yeah. But then once you get away from that and you realize, A, I learned something, and B, I know how to prevent this from happening again, you're able to move past that.
Yeah.
Is that sort of how you feel?
It's perspective. It can be as terrible or as not terrible as you, and that's not a profound statement, but it's really just kind of audit what is going on. Because what I couldn't see for some time was there were a lot of things going right. For example, it's $125 shirt.
$125. Sorry.
We did sell some of those. There were a number of people who bought those shirts, and I'm looking, going, there's people buying $125 T-shirts, and it was a way for me to kind of get in front. I was hearing a lot of things about, like maybe we were trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes, that we were brewing in Mississippi. But Mobile, right. I kept my office at the Ice House. We're a Mobile company. So I was trying to get in front of that. Like, right. Hey, guys, this is what it is because of this legal battle.
And you guys were, it was on the bottle.
Yeah, it absolutely is on the bottle. So, and then I made the shirt. I wanted people to see me wearing the shirt. Like, this isn't a gimmick. It was a way to turn that around. So I guess back to the positive. After auditing that, it was like, look, there's some people that are not happy with the way things are going, but there's a lot of people who will spend hard-earned money on a T-shirt to help me out with legal fees and drink this Mississippi beer as a Mobilian and treat it as their own as I've envisioned it being.
And the quality never changed.
No.
It was in case anybody's wondering, it was the exact same before, after, and it's gonna be the exact same.
No, and it's I think we got a lot of things up our sleeve.
Good.
I think we're gonna knock this down.
Was there a taste test last week?
Yeah. So we have a couple of things. So one of them is we are in the lab again. Matt Wheeler's our head brewer, and he is that dude's kicking out some phenomenal beer right now. We're kind of limited with home brews in terms of what we can actually do. But the last couple, man, are something to talk about, and we are going to scale that up, and that will be a Mobile beer. The other aspect of it is me and Anna are nerding out to be Cicerones, which is like the beer version of a sommelier. We're going to take a test in Chicago in May, so every day we're drinking beers from around the world in a way to be able to get them in a blind taste test and audit them and talk about quality and that sort of thing.
Hashtag dream job.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's what. So we're nerding out making beer. Like, again, a lot of things are going right now.
Yeah, good.
So it's perspective, perception.
So as far as legality wise, where are you guys at with the zoning issues? Tell us where we're at right now, without obviously saying anything that you can't say, and let us know where we're at.
Sure. So real-time update. After we got a favorable ruling from a judge, we had to go back to the city, had to go back to architect, engineer, and basically meet the proposed orders from the judge. Like, he moved some things around. This has got to be over here, and there's got to be a fence here, and that sort of thing. So we had to go back to some drawings, and then we had to resubmit to the city today to keep this short. All we got to do is submit an estimate and the contractor's information, and we can pull permits.
Nice.
So we're getting ready to build. We are getting ready to build. There's still some hurdles, but again, looking back at what we've gone through, I'm not scared of anything in front of us.
And that's the cool thing, is it's going to be, hey, moving forward, it's you know, if you can ever get to the point to where we're making beer and it's going to be cool. All right, man. Well, look, I really appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah.
You know, I love Haint Blue. I love the fact that you guys are now selling these glasses and other products and T-shirts. I love any company that turns their brand into something that's other than their product.
Right.
It's you know, there's a stat. You know, one thing I use a lot in my business when talking to some of my team is Harley Davidson, and how the Honda Shadow and one of the Harley motorcycles almost look identical, but Harley sales are way up here, and they're buying that Harley Davidson. And somebody actually told me a stat 2-3 weeks ago: 60% of Harley Davidson's total gross revenue comes from non-motorcycle products. People buying stuff with the logo on it. So I love the fact that you guys are doing that and doing these hand-blown glasses and that sort of thing. So you want to tell people where they can order that kind of stuff and support Haint Blue?
Thank you for that. Two ways to do it. We have a Shopify account on the internet. You can link through. We often put it up on social media. I think you can click on Facebook and find the link. You can also go to our website, haintbluebrew.com.
And Instagram. You guys do a great job on Instagram.
And Instagram. That's Anna, man. Anna's been, man, she is incredibly creative and always has a camera. Like, I'll have a good idea or something, but I'm not prepared for that idea. Like, only if Anna's not that person. So she captures everything. The second way is Urban Emporium downtown on Dolphin. We keep them pretty stocked these days. But if you want the Mardi Gras glass, pre-sale's going on now. Shopify is the only way to get that. Buy one today.
And when you're watching this, you need to, if you want that glass, you need to get it right now, because these are pre-recorded out. So
oh man, we sold. We had by 9 o'clock this morning. We had sold 42.
Holy
in about
cow!
8 hours.
And y'all posted that this morning.
Well, we posted it yesterday afternoon. So about 5 o'clock ish before we left, and then around 9 this morning we had sold 41 or 42. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, you never know. You may start doing more of that.
I don't know. Yeah, it's exciting. You know, it's the new Mardi Gras logo. It was kind of cool to put that out on our early product.
Well, you know, one thing that Johnny and I were talking about last week is Slack. If you're familiar with the company Slack, they actually started as a finance company or something.
I am familiar with that story.
Crazy, and I don't know. I'm telling Johnny's version of it, and then
it's like an internal communication platform.
They created an internal communication deal, and they brought some kind of consultant in because they were going out of business. And the guy's like, "This is your product, not this." And I'm like, I do insurance, and a lot of I'm in a couple mastermind groups, and we talk about, hey, what we use. Almost every single person uses Slack. Yeah. And those people, and if you guys are watching that on Slack, I'm going to fly you down here to be on this show. So really appreciate it, Keith. Thanks. If I can ever help you in any way, let me know.
Thank you. I think you did.
Yep. Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.